much for the invitation. I'm very happy to come here to share what we are doing in robotics. So the title of my talk is Physical Artificial Intelligence for Adaptive Robotic System. So here, I think probably everybody should know the artificial intelligence nowadays has made a very big advancement, right? So what do we mean by physical artificial intelligence? Because I'm from my focus is trying to say how can we design better robots. So in that case, how can we, for example, morph the body of a robot? How can we make sure we can reconfigure the body of the robot? So that's what we call physical artificial intelligence. So I would like to start with this computational artificial intelligence. I think in 2016, AlphaGo has made a very big media appearance because they beat the human master in the Go game. So here I have a link that links to a documentary about the journey. I think it's very informative. So this is a very good achievement because the Go game is very complicated and people have tried to develop computer programs to beat humans. But this AlphaGo can beat the championship. And also this company, DeepMind, they have invented different versions of this AlphaGo. They have AlphaZero that can learn even the computer program does not know the rule of a Go game, so it can learn the rules and then try to beat humans. So another advancement in probably 2 years ago is this AlphaFold. It can actually very accurately predict the folding of protein amino acid. Normally, it's a very large chain, right? So it can. They have developed this kind of algorithm that can predict 90% of correct of this folding process. I think some of you are biologists. This is a very challenging problem, right? And people are trying to figure this out. And I think some people even say this kind of advancement is like 40 years ahead of our schedule. So this is very big advancement. So the last one is this ChatGPT. I don't know if anyone has played with it before or recently because it's very powerful. Yeah, and you can play with it. You can ask questions. You can interactively maybe answer your questions. And also, if you write something, you can help to revise it and also even come up with something very very good actually. Yeah. So if you haven't tried it out, I would suggest you try it out. Yes, very good. But I would like to talk about the robots. Those are computational artificial intelligence. But for robotic systems, normally we need a physical body. If you look at this is the factory in Tesla. You can see that you will have all those kind of mechanical robotic arms, right? So those the arms can do this welding, pick and place, all those kind of things, right? So you need to have a physical body, just like a human arm, right, in order to do something. So that's a traditional robotic system. And recently, or nowadays, people are trying to develop robotic systems that can move from this structured factories to this unstructured and dynamic and also different environments. Okay, so on the right, I have a figure from a company called Boston Dynamics. They try to develop all this kind of four-leg robots, humanoid robots. All of those, you still need to have a body. The body should be able to, if you want real intelligence, the body should function very well. If you don't have the body, then you cannot interact with the environment. So that's, I have a very short video from Boston Dynamics. So this is a, let me see. So let me see the sound. Has anyone watched this before? This came out like a few months ago. Anyways, it's a humanoid robot. It can pick this thing up and then put it on. then because the person on the top forgot his tool, then this robot he sent a command to this robot. The robot can then figure out, oh, how can I get up? So it pick up this wood and then pick up the toolbox, the tool, and then also go upstairs and then throw it away, throw it to the, and then it can jump off and then do a backflip. So this is quite impressive result because if you imagine all those joints, you have lots of joints, right? And then you have lots of the arms, right? You need to interact with the environment. You need to pick something up. So it's very difficult, but everything should be in the robot body. So that leads to the major topic today: physical artificial intelligence. What is the physical artificial intelligence opposed to computational artificial intelligence? So here I have a definition from one of the leading experts in this field, Metin City from Max Planck. So basically, physical artificial intelligence is that how can we embed this intelligence into the body of a robot or agent? So we have lots of things here, like sensing, actuation, control, everything. Okay, how can we do that inside a body so that potentially we can reduce the computational like requirement or do something based on the body can function by itself. So here I have a few examples from biology. Okay, this animation shows a fly trap. Basically, this fly trap, as long as you sense some like a box get into it, then it can automatically close. Okay, of course, this fly trap does not have a brain, right? It only has this body, does not have a brain to function. So how can it trap it? So this is based on physical intelligence. Another example is a very good example as well. Is this octopus? It's the most smart, the smartest animal in the ocean. But if you look at the body, it's purely soft, and it can definitely have physical intelligence because it can use the tentacles to be able to locomote, right? Move around and also grasp something and also attach to something, and it also can go through some very narrow gap by squeezing his body. So those are all examples of physical intelligence from biological side. So in my lab, we're trying to create something, trying to leverage or trying to work in this area of physical artificial intelligence to develop adaptive robotic system. So we are mainly focused on trying to design this kind of robotic system to be able to better interact and adapt to different environments. We are specifically interested in robots that can change their morphologies. For example, they can. Here I have one example. Okay, so if you think about some application like search and rescue or environmental monitoring or maybe surveillance. Okay, so if there's an earthquake and normally nowadays there's no robot that can go into the area because there's too many bubbles or maybe the environment is too difficult to navigate. So imagine if you have a robot that can move around. Okay. And if there's a small gap, it can squeeze or change the body size to make it smaller, so it can go through the small gap. And if there is a crack, and I want to go through it, imagine the robot can fold its legs so it can fall below this crack. And eventually, if I have a pipe, right, I can also locomote by somehow changing the body morphology or maybe motion of the legs, so it can go through this pipe and also can climb over some holes. Eventually, you can use the legs as the arm, maybe deliver some medicals to a human trapped in the area. So those are something we try to accomplish. So today, what I'm going to do is that I will try to talk about 3 projects individually, trying to demonstrate or trying to illustrate how this physical artificial intelligence can complement this computational artificial intelligence. And eventually, how can we potentially combine them together to enable the next generation of robotic system? So the first project I'm going to talk about is to enable this perching capability for flying robots. So the second one is that how can we we try to develop this soft robot, like similar to this octopus. With this kind of robot is made from rubber-like material. Okay, how can we actuate it, because you cannot use motors, rigid motors anymore. So the last project I'm going to talk about is how can you reconfigure the mechanic structure on the fly after you build a robot. Normally, if you want another function, right, you need to disassemble a robot to get another, maybe assemble it again to get another function. So if you have the same mechanic structure or physical structure, how can you reconfigure the structure on the fly so that it can achieve different functions? So that's the last project. So the first project, Perching for flying robots. So this is I think a very good example for the trade-off between computational and physical artificial intelligence. And also itself is a very interesting problem. And also it has a lot of practical applications, because imagine all the flying robots nowadays, okay, like quadcopters, like those with 4 propellers, they can only stay in the air for less than half an hour. So it's very energy inefficient. So, but if they can perch onto some objects, right, then it's like birds, then they can save energy. At the same time, we can still do some function like monitoring. So the reason I think it's very interesting is that because if you look at the birds, so on the left side I have a video, just it's a slow motion of how bird perch onto a tree branch. Okay, if you look at that, you can see that it's a nice combination of this physical and computational artificial intelligence, because you will need to use your eyes to be able to see, oh, how far away I'm from that tree branch. Then I need to control my speed and also trying to adjust my orientation, right? Eventually, I can land on that tree branch. And when you land on it, you need to make sure your gripper, your gripper will reliably damp out the landing impact and then land on the branch. So it's it's very nice combination of physical and computation intelligence. And what we're trying to do is that we're trying to develop a new novel vision-based algorithm together with some physical intelligent gripper, so that we combine together, we can do this perching similar to how birds have done. But here, I'm not going to talk about the computation intelligence. We developed some algorithms, but the focus here, I'm going to talk about how can we develop this physical intelligent gripper. So we have developed several versions of this gripper. This is the newest version we published last year. So this gripper, I think it's very good, because whenever you think about gripper, you need to have some motor to be able to actuate it, right? So you can grasp. But this gripper does not have any motor or actuator. Basically, it relies on the impact force. When you contact that object, then you can close it, and then after close it, you can lift it up, and then you can stay there. That the object will stay inside. All right. Then if you drop it off, it can automatically open. So no actuator, no control. Basically, just rely purely on mechanical structure to be able to realize this grasping, holding, and releasing function. So this is ideal for perching purposes. We have done some experiments with quadcopter in our lab. So basically, you move up as long as one advantage of this gripper is that you don't need to precisely align the robot with the rod in this case, because as long as inside the gripper, then you can make sure the gripper will contact the rod, then you can automatically close. And then if you close it, then you can turn off the propeller, turn off the motor, then you can hang there without consuming any additional energy. And if you want to take off, then you just apply propeller. You just actuate the propeller again to be able to release. So we can also use this gripper to do this grasping, airway grasping from the air. You can see that we can simply make sure this object is within the gripper, then you can automatically grasp and then take it off and then release. So here is the working principle. I'm not going to get into the detail, but basically it's a bistable mechanism. That means it has two stable states. One is open, one is closed. And then we try to have some kind of latch on the top so that when it holds the object, it will always be able to close. And then, but if you try to remove that force, then it can automatically open. So that's the details. I think is not that important here. If you want to know the details, talk to me later. But we also developed another version of this physically intelligent. We call it landing gear because that previous example is you try to land on a perch on tree branch. So here there are many examples you want to land on surface, right? Like a boat. If you imagine how can you land a flying robot on a boat, and especially if the boat is on the sea, right? It's weaving around. How can you make sure that it can reliably land on it? So we have developed this mechanism based on the bistable mechanism I just discussed by attaching another suction cup, customized suction cup, so that whenever you contact surface, you can automatically attach to it. Okay, and then we can have some kind of locking mechanism to lock onto it, and so that it can stay there. But if you want to release it, you simply pull some cables using very small amount of force. You can pull it off. So that's this landing gear. This is the working principle. You can see that we will have maybe I can use a laser pointer. So we have three different states. It can, if initially it's at this state, and then it can go to this Perching state, right? And you can lock and unlock the mechanism. Eventually, if you unlock it, you can have the cables, those blue lines that can release the suction cup from the surface. Yeah, again, I'm not going to go to the details, but here, this example, this perching, I just want to try to illustrate this physically intelligent gripper can reduce the amount of computation requirement. Okay, you don't need to precisely control the robot because then you can simply rely on mechanical structure to perch onto some other structures. So the second project is this we call soft robots driven by artificial muscle. So for soft robots, it's opposed to traditional industrial robot, because if you think about traditional industrial robot, they have rigid legs, they put in the factory, and then normally you have a fence surrounding this robot, and only authorized people will be able to get into it because they get trained on this robot. The reason is that those robots are rigid. If something goes wrong, they may hurt people, right? But this soft robot, they are made from rubber-like material. They are inherently safe, and we can build this robot to be able to interact with humans safely. Here I have two examples. One is this robotic gripper is made of this kind of rubber-like material, so they can grasp some very fragile stuff like raw eggs, maybe vegetables, like tomatoes, right? Traditionally, if you use a rigid gripper to do that, that's very difficult. You need to sense the force, how much force I'm applying to be able to precisely control it. But this soft robot is very, you can do this easily because you don't need to rely on force sensor. And also on bottom, we have another work, pioneering work is use the soft robot for locomotion, right? How can you change the morphology to deal with different environments? And one critical aspect for this soft robot is that we cannot use the electrical motor anymore, like rigid motor to actuate these joints, because this soft is like a rubber, right? How can you actuate it? People have developed all kinds of methods. On the left, two videos is from pneumatics, use compressed air to be able to actuate it. On the right, we have a bunch of examples like chip memory alloy, like a motor-driven cable, or maybe chemical approach, or maybe dielectric actuator. So those are all, people call it artificial muscle. Basically, it's like a human muscle. You can generate this kind of motion, right? But what we are doing is different. We are working on this, we call it twisted and coiled actuator. So this is published about 10 years ago in Science. And this twisted and coiled actuator is very simple to fabricate. Basically, if you think about it, if you have any polymer fiber like a fishing line, okay, fishing line or swing thread, you can just twist it. You fix one end and twist the other end. Twist it and until you twist it a lot, and eventually you'll come this spring-like structure. And then if you hang a weight at the bottom, and then you apply heat to it, okay? Apply heat to it, you will generate linear actuation. So it's relatively straightforward, and but it can be very even stronger than human muscle because it can generate a very large force. The problem of twisted and coiled actuator is that they cannot have initial gaps. That means if you fabricate something like that, like spring, right, there will be no gap between those coils. So that means you only need to hang a weight to be able to generate motion. So what we try to do is that we try to overcome this difficulty. We try to create this twisted and coiled actuator with free strokes. We create a new fabrication method by using this copper wire as a helical shape. Then we can fabricate some artificial muscle with some initial gaps. Okay, this is the fabrication procedure. I'm not going to detail, but basically you just twist it and then put on this mandrel, and eventually you put in the oven at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. Eventually, this muscle will become this shape. All right. Then we did some quantification. Basically, we try to fabricate different muscles with different parameters. And this is video showing, okay, 0.02. The muscle is very lightweight, 0.02 gram, but it can lift 20 grams, which is 1,000 of its own weight for more than 55% of displacement. And what we can do is that we can use this muscle to do a lot of things. We can build a soft robot, right? Because again, the soft robot, how can you actuate it? We can have 3 muscles placed in parallel into a rubber-like material. Then if you control them individually, you can generate a bending motion. So this is very small, so just like your finger, size of a finger, that you can do this bending motion in a three-dimensional space. We can also try to wrap around it in a helical shape in a soft body, so you can generate this twisting motion. So this is a top view. If you see it from the top, you have this twisting motion. And you can also you can also create a gripper, very simple gripper. Okay, initially it's closed like this. Then if you actuate the muscle, then you can open and then grab something. And finally, we also try to combine them together. You just connect these 3 components into a single part. This is a 3D bending part. This is a twisting part. This is a gripper part. If you add them together, then you can build a very small soft robotic arm. Again, it's like your finger, the size of a finger. You can do this manipulation and pick up something and then do this, pick and place, basically. And also, this soft robot will be very good for manipulating fragile stuff. Here we demonstrate, we try to use this to manipulate droplets, because droplets is very difficult to manipulate, right? So you cannot use the traditional rigid gripper to do that. So here we try to embed the muscle at the bottom, so we can manipulate droplets. So this is a collaboration with my previous colleague, Dr. Kota, and he's working on this hydrophobic coating, because for all these droplets, you want to make sure the droplet will not attach to the surface, right? He's working on this kind of special coating that can repair all kinds of liquid. And we combine this soft robotic technology with the hydrophobic coating. We can create this soft manipulation. And another good thing about this, as I mentioned before, physical artificial intelligence, is that you can integrate sensing with the physical body, right? A good thing about this artificial muscle is that it has a self-sensing capability. That means what? That means if you try to actuate it, the electrical resistance will increase, will change. So we try to leverage that electrical resistance to do this feedback control. How can I control displacement? I want to move 10 millimeter up. I can simply regulate or try to control the electrical resistance to a specific value. So here we try to just try to evaluate, we hunt different weights at the bottom and then try to see, how will resistance change if we try to actuate it. You can see that it's pretty consistent. That means we can use these curves to be able to do the control. So here is a simple demonstration that I can use this muscle to detect how much weight is applied, and then I can lift the weight to a particular distance. And then I can detect also another 20 grams, all based on the self-sensing ability of this actuation muscle. And you can imagine that here is a very simple demonstration. I can use this as a sensor. If human touches this, then I can see, somebody touches, and then I can try to control it to move to a specific bend to a specific angle. You can imagine more complications can be done, right? If you build a gripper on that, I can use touch, basically like a touch sensor. I can touch the desk or touch the chair or maybe some other objects. And if I feel, there's some object there, I can grab it. So this is very good for those kind of applications. The self-sensing capability. I'm not going to talk about this, but there are some math behind it, because if you want to model this kind of soft robot, because there's like they're stretchable, you can bend in any direction, right? Unlike a rigid robot is very relatively easy to model. So you will need to use some solid mechanics to be able to model this kind of soft robot. How can you model the muscle? How can you model the soft body? And how can you model the coupling between them? So that's kind of difficult. So here we have developed some model to do that. But I'm not going to talk about details for this. All right, so here's a transformer. So last project is Reconfigurable Robot. Again, as I mentioned before, we are interested in how can you, if you have a robot, the mechanical structure or physical structure is fixed, how can you reconfigure itself to different functions? So this is what we try to do here. Here's a very short video from the transformers. Okay, you can see that in probably 3 seconds. Okay, it can fly, then change to car, and then change to like a humanoid, right? So it's very rapid, and it's a very
well, it's all been done, so why are you doing
it? Okay, and we cannot achieve this. Okay, it's in the movie. All right. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to talk about some work we're trying to work in this area. Essentially, we are trying to see how can we leverage we call the variable stiffness joints to reconfigure a robot's mechanical structure. So the material we're using is very simple. It's like a normal 3D printing material, like thermoplastic. And for thermoplastic, you have two temperature. One temperature is called glass transition temperature. If you heat it up to above this glass transition temperature, then the Young's modulus, which basically is how stiff the material is, will decrease. Okay. And then another temperature is called the melting temperature, TM. And after this temperature, basically the material will melt because it's 3D printing. That's the working principle of 3D printer, right? You can melt material to be able to do the end part. So two temperature, TM and TG. So we can use this to build this kind of a compliant joint or variable stiffness joint. Initially, is if you heat it up, it becomes soft. If you cool it down, you can become rigid. And you can hold that shape. If I bend in a particular angle, right, you can hold that shape. So that's the advantage of this. And when you try to apply this to a kind of a working robot, okay. And for this working robot, we have a mechanical mechanism, which is some kind of linkage. Okay, some kind of linkage. You have joints, and if you combine them together, you will be able to generate different motion. This is the leg. Okay, this is the foot. Normally, when you do walking, you would expect some kind of loop trajectory, right, like this. So by reconfiguring the joints, we can achieve trajectories. This black one and this orange one. So we can, let me show you a video. Yeah, so we can actually achieve 3 different trajectories. Well, another one is totally different, but that one cannot be used for walking. We'll just show the 2 trajectories here. Basically, you have a variable stiffness joint here and here. Okay, we can make it soft or rigid. So that means now it's soft. Okay, you can see that this will like rotate a bit during the motion. Then the next time we can make this soft, then eventually you can change the trajectory. Basically, you can change the length of the link. The link initially is fixed, but we can change the length by this reconfiguration strategy.
What's the time frame for that change? How rapidly?
That's relatively long because you are trying to heat it up, right? That we can speed up the process by using a larger power, higher voltage. I think for now, probably, I don't remember exactly, probably like 20 or 30 seconds. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, then eventually you can achieve different trajectories. So this is I have a video for walking, we build a walking robot with 4 of these legs. You can walk around. For the time, I didn't put it here. I think this is more interesting because we can do more interesting stuff. So it's basically based on this variable stiffness joint, we build this kind of reconfigurable module. This is very relatively straightforward. You have 3 vertical beam and then 3 diagonal beam. And diagonal beam, we have this variable stiffness joint. We can control the stiffness. I can make it soft or rigid. And if all the 3 are soft, okay, you can do this collapsing motion or fully collapse when you try to drag a cable in the middle. And if 2 joints are soft, the middle are soft, and then you can do this bending 90-degree motion. Bending. Eventually, if one joint is soft, then you can do we call it slant motion. It's similar to bending, but it's just bend towards a different direction. All right. So the one module is not that interesting, but if we have more modules, if I have 2 modules, I can imagine I can control each joint, the stiffness of each joint. I can generate different motion, different shape. So here, just demonstration of all the different motion we can generate. And we try to use this method to build a robot that has 4 legs. Each leg will have 4 of these modules. And then by changing the of the leg. So on the bottom, I have the motion for each different kind of locomotion. Essentially, you can do this walking. Okay, I try to collapse one module and then do this some motion like this. I can walk around. Then the second video is that if I try to bend my legs 90 degrees. Let me see. Yeah, 90 degrees. I can fix that shape, and then I do this something like this, and kind of like a crawling motion, right? And the last one is this. We can do this climbing motion or inching motion inside some kind of pipe. Sorry. Yeah, so it can still first do this, and then it will collapse the last module. It will just collapse. So this one will bend, but this one will collapse. Okay, so that's just one leg, and then if we combine them together, what we can do is that you can see we can do this with the same mechanical physical body. We can do different things. If all the 4 legs are standing on the ground, and then we can do this walking on the top left. And also, if I try to bend all the 4 legs around 90 degrees, then they can crawl on the ground. And I can also use the two of the 4 legs to grasp some object, and the other 2 legs can move forward. The last video will be simply showing that you can move inside some kind of you can think about pipe or whatever. So you can use inchworm motion, inchworm-like motion. not as impassive as a transformer, but we are making progress. All right.
Those would make wonderful cat toys.
Okay. All right. So I think yeah, I don't try to go very deep because I think everybody has different background, right? So I just talk about I have a lot of videos. Hopefully, it's not too boring. I just talk about the 3 projects. The point I want to make is that physical artificial intelligence, how to better design a robot body, is equally important as computational artificial intelligence. Because if you only have the computational artificial intelligence, you will not have very good robots. Okay, robot needs to have a good body. So that's the very brief summary. And for future directions, I think it's very exciting because with the computational artificial intelligence, we have very enormous computation power, right? So I envision that we can have 2 directions. One is that we can co-design the robot body and behavior. So because we have lots of people have developed a lot of simulation tools. You can have very realistic simulation. So we can build the robot in the simulation. We can run it in the simulation and tell, oh, how good is this robot? If it's not good, I can creatively to find the optimal design for a given task. So here I have some different morphology for a robot. This is from a Nature Communication paper. People have used deep learning to try to learn different morphology for a specific task. Yeah, then go even further is that I call it co-adapt. Okay, if I already built a robot, how can I if the robot is in a different new environment, how can the robot use the sensor to figure out, oh, what should be my optimal morphology in this environment, and then what is my optimal behavior, like motion? What is my gait, right? So how can you do that to co-adapt the morphology and behavior on the fly? That's after you build a robot, which you can in real environment, all different environments. Imagine you have a robot that can move on grass, maybe on pebbles, right? So on those, maybe the robot needs to have different morphology and different motion. How can you co-adapt the morphology and behavior? So that's the future direction. Yeah, and I would like to thank my students, my collaborators, and also sponsors. So that's it. Thank you very much.